Hi there, and welcome to the Too Many Toonz podcast. Perry?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm Perry Dactyl, and this is going to be the Harvest Club podcast. It's about cartoons, and we got Alex and Crackers and Steve Vidya.
Hey guys, and welcome. This is a podcast. What is it? Alright, so we're going to be talking about cartoons and watching cartoons, and it's gonna be really cool. Every week, we're going to go and we're going to watch a random episode of a random cartoon, and we're going to come here, we're going to sit down, and we're going to talk about it, and just be complete nerds for about like a half hour. And it's going to be wonderful, because you guys can watch along with us, because every week, you know, we're going to say what we're watching next week, and it's going to be one big, happy discussion. It's going to be really dope.
Really dope. Dope is
exceedingly dope.
Too much dope! Alright.
We're gonna get arrested for all this fucking dope.
Too many dope. That's our actual podcast.
Too many dope. That's good. Alright. So what have you guys been up to this past, lifetime since the last podcast, which never existed?
Well, it's the week before finals. I'm in college, and so I've been sleeping in a lot and not going to some of my classes, and it's going pretty okay. Just
Sounds
very
like
tiring.
A pretty good week.
I'm just really proud of
It's
you.
been pretty good. Thank you. What about you guys? That's all I'm gonna say.
I guess I'll go next. I haven't been up to a whole lot. Trying to edit a video. Obsessed with freaking Hotline Miami 2. Holy crap, it's cool. Great music, and so glad it's here. And that's pretty much about it for me. What are you up to, Steve? What you been up to, man?
I have been busy as hell working on the Late Night Lounge. It takes up every waking second of my life. And along with that, I've been playing Elite Dangerous, which has been really dope. It's just this amazingly huge space sim game. And I got like a flight joystick and everything. It's been really cool. I have no idea what I'm doing at all. Like, I just fly around, I get killed by pirates, and I'm like, that was fun! But, you know, I'm enjoying myself.
I've definitely heard of that, but I don't know anything about it.
It's like a sequel to like a really old game called just Elite, where it was actually... have you guys seen Xbox Ahoy?
No.
He has a video on open world games, and like Elite was like one of the very first, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then like a day later, I find Elite Dangerous, and I'm like, yes! It was a nice little coincidence. But that's pretty much all I've been doing besides working, lounge, and flying spaceships around.
Cool, man.
Today, we're talking about Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is kind of amazing.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. It's made by Alex Hirsch, and it's on the Disney Channel, which is now Disney XD, and it's amazing. I'm super excited to actually be talking about this one for our first one, because I kind of wanted to do something that we were all familiar with, because we all really like Gravity Falls here.
Yep, Gravity Falls is awesome.
Yes, we do.
It's absolutely perfect. So, all right, just a quick rundown. If you don't know what Gravity Falls is, it's a series of like adventures with a brother and a sister, Dipper Pines and Mabel Pines, and these two were shipped off to Gravity Falls, Oregon on summer vacation from their parents, and forced to live in the Mystery Shack with their great uncle Stan. Grunkle Stan. Grunkle. You know what's really weird? I love this show, and I've watched it from like episode 1. I never realized what Grunkle meant until the last episode.
Really?
Aired, and I was like, dude, it never clicked for me for some reason.
It's
the
funny.
First time I heard that, I was like, yes, Grunkle! I love word combinations.
It was weird for me because I have a great uncle who lives in Oregon, so like it was kind of trippy
Whoa!
for me. Yeah,
You're Dipper. Do you have a sister?
Dipper confirmed.
but like he's like way older than Grunkle Stan,
well, that's
and he's like he's kind of like a compulsive liar. It's a strange.
Well, I
story,
mean,
but,
it kind of fits then.
I can see him. I could see it. Anyway.
Does he own a shack, perhaps?
No, he lives in a home.
Well, that's just lame.
Okay.
I'm a little upset by
pretty
this. Why'd you even bring it up? You actually like you brought me down.
It's kind of cool.
You brought me down.
It's kind of cool.
Anyway,
moving on. So basically, it's like if Disney did the X-Files. That's what the show is.
That is such a
Yeah.
perfect... Okay, I'm sorry, but that is like absolutely perfect, and you just made me realize that Gravity Falls is just Disney's X-Files, man.
Exactly. That's why you like it.
And it's awesome.
Oh, like
it's
that.
Awesome.
Honestly, X-Files has to be like an inspiration for Alex Hirsch on this. Like,
No, it must be. It totally is.
I've never seen anything that officially says it, but come on. It's basically just X-Files, with just less sexual tension, which is a good thing.
I thought they were like, I want them to be good friends.
Dude, are you kidding me? The sexual tension in X-Files is out the fucking roof.
Well, one
got
day
a
we'll
point
start a podcast about the sexual tension in X-Files, but today we have a podcast about Gravity Falls.
All right.
So, like Steve was talking about earlier, the first episode is just, Dipper and Mabel moving to Gravity Falls to visit their great Uncle Stan. And we get to meet the Mystery Shack, where Grunkle Stan turned his home into a actual convenience.
More like a tourist trap.
Yeah,
Isn't the episode
More like a
the name
tourist
of the
trap
episode
than
Tourist Trap?
Yeah, the first episode is just Tourist Trap.
Full circle.
Wow!
Full circle.
Full circle.
Mind blown. Yeah.
And they get there, and it's like this. It's just this really weird place that he makes up all this crap, and it's just like
He just makes up like weird oddities of things. Like, oh, look at this. I think he has like this like lollipop looking thing. He's like, you can't ever get your eyes away from
that
this.
comes in a bit
And
later.
he's like, what was I talking about?
No,
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
first things that they show, like, in the Mystery Shack is the Sasquatch, I believe. Oh, God.
Yes.
Where it's just, like, a Sasquatch-looking, like, stuffed thing just wearing underwear. And everybody's like, oh, my God. It's just, like, everybody in Gravity Falls, like, the town, is just really stupid, and they all fall for this, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because if you living on the West Coast, like these places exist. Like they're like mystery spots, and like I swear to God, I've seen so many
do they
goddamn
really?
mystery spot. Yeah, they're real.
Oh, my
Like,
God.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is inspired by like actual tourist traps, so it's really great.
I actually had... Well, I live on the East Coast, so I had no idea.
Yeah.
But you don't really see anything like this out here. The only place you'll start seeing stuff like this is if you go to, like, Salem or, like, Gettysburg has some weird stuff, too. But other than that, there's, like, nothing out here. So it's kind of cool that stuff like this actually exists.
I haven't been to one, but there's like the trees of mystery, and like it's all like it's perfect the way they depict it in the show.
So when this episode starts, I love it. It starts off like this looking super generic, and like it's just like it's gonna be every other cartoon. It's like, there's people grilling, and he's like, hey, do you want a burger? It's so great. And then it just cuts to like them driving a golf buggy like through a sign off a cliff. And it just kind of completely set the tone. It's just like, you thought it was gonna be this like generic cartoon, but this is gonna be way fucking cooler than that. And then of course
even that for
even after that, they're getting chased by like this giant monster, which of course you don't actually see right away. They're just like, Dipper's like, it's just unspeakable horror or something like that, he says. It totally set the
even that
mood.
part's like. Even that's like this is my life, and like this is like a generic setup. I don't know. It felt like even that part felt kind of like, oh, this is just a regular cartoon, and like then it kind of proves itself over the course of the episode.
Yeah, even like with like you were saying with the narrative, like how he's talking over this, they don't do this like ever again.
Yeah, they have this weird voiceover that's like, I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't give enough credit to the rest of the show.
Yeah, I feel like it was almost like that on purpose, just to kind of like bring people in a little more, so they're like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a fun cartoon, and then they start watching and they realize like, oh, this is a lot more than just a fun cartoon.
Yeah, they're actually trying.
Yeah. They definitely give that pilot friendly vibe, especially towards the beginning. And I think it's really interesting because like what Steve was talking about earlier, when like they bust through the billboard and like in the golf cart, and there's like a monster chasing them, and like there's so many cartoons where just like, oh, we're fighting monsters, and like you think you're just gonna give up, like, oh man, I've seen enough of monster cartoons, I don't want to watch this, and then, like you keep watching, and it slowly becomes a little bit more interesting than just monster fighting cartoon kind of thing.
Yeah, it turns out to be Gnomes, which I wasn't expecting.
Gnomes.
It's Gnomes.
Spoilers, Steve. Jeez.
It's Gnomes.
Skip ahead
it's
to
always Gnomes. So as like this narrative sort of takes off, it cuts to the intro, which might I just add is one of the best cartoon intros like
I love
of
the intro.
all times.
It's so weird how perfect it is, and like I'm not exaggerating. When I watch Gravity Falls, I look really forward to hearing that intro like jingle. It's so good.
Me too.
It like gets you right in the mood for it. It's like it's so just pleasant and like spooky. I don't know.
Dude, it's a perfect mixture of like spooky and like catchy like pop kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that, I noticed the music more watching it this time. Like that, they carried that really well throughout the entire episode. Like it's like I want to listen to these kind of.
Yeah. And I definitely feel that way about like Mabel. Like they always have really like great 80s kind of synth pop stuff when she like does something stupid.
Oh yeah.
Gets really excited.
Yeah.
I can't I just love it. I just want all of it all the time. It's like I relate to Mabel.
They do such a good job with that. There was a few episodes where there's been like dance parties and stuff like that.
Oh god.
And like it's always like this 80s music and stuff, and it's I don't know, I always thought it was pretty great.
It's great. I love it.
It just occurred to me, like Perry, you and me, we should do someday like a double cosplay of Dipper and Mabel. That would be the best.
Oh my god, that would be fantastic.
Can I be Grunkle Stan?
Anyway. Yes,
yeah,
holy
dude.
shit.
I can be Grunkle Stan or I can be Seuss.
Either
they would both be perfect. So.
No, I'm going to be Wendy, actually. So, speaking of Seuss and Wendy, within like the first, like, I don't know, a minute or two after the intro, they introduce us to like everybody that's pretty much important. Like main cast just right away. You have Dipper, Mabel, who are the twins. You have Grunkle Stan, and they introduce Wendy and Seuss, who play huge. Well, Seuss plays more of a huge role later on. Wendy not as much.
Yeah,
I always felt like
both
Wendy
of these
was
characters, are employees of the Mystery Shack. I felt like I should say that. Continue on, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, can I just say that was a smooth ass transition, by the way? But carry on.
Yeah, Wendy I always felt was kind of like underused. They used her for a little while as Dipper's like love interest, but obviously it never went anywhere for, obvious reasons. But I always felt like she was a little underused at times. Did she ever actually have an episode to herself, now that I think about it?
I think she does later on, maybe.
She gets more screen time in season 2.
I actually haven't seen a ton of season 2. I've skipped a few episodes, so I might have actually skipped that one.
Yeah,
like where she got.
There's some really good ones.
Season 2.
I don't even remember what I said.
It's
anyway, we're not talking about season 2. We're talking about episode 1.
That's right. Okay,
Trap. Season 1.
All right,
let's talk about the visuals, huh?
Oh, the visuals.
Oh yeah,
the visuals.
The visuals,
okay.
man.
I need to just like
collect yourself,
Steve.
For a second. Collect yourself.
Just let it all out.
The visuals, just in general, like whether it's just a background or like a painting, or there's a lot of like landscape shots and stuff, especially in the intro and later on in the series. There's some absolutely incredible artwork in this, and it's just it just fits this mood, this like weird eerie feeling so well sometimes. And like I look at these backgrounds and I'm like, I want this on my wall. I want this to be my life. Like, it's just really, really good.
Yeah, it's great. And so I don't have anything.
I think the character design is pretty solid too. And it kind of contradicts like the highly detailed backgrounds that Steve was just talking about. Because they're very like, easy on the eyes, just big eyes, big head, kind of situation, and it's very like traditional cartoony look, and I think that kind of is a cool juxtaposition between the backgrounds, so like the characters and like the action really pops.
Yeah, definitely. Like it you can definitely tell that it's standing out. They put like a lot of work into the background, but you have like this plain, very simple shaded, sometimes not shaded at all, character in the foreground.
Sometimes not shaded at all. It's crazy.
And the only time they really use shading is when they like have a close up or something.
Yep.
That's like the only time I've really noticed. But that's kind of the same in a lot of cartoons. They don't really do that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just that contrast of like the really nicely done backgrounds and everything, it really makes the character stand out and really lets you like appreciate their design, because like you look at Mabel and you know exactly what kind of character she's going to be. She's going to be that like bubbly character and everything. It was portrayed before she even spoke. Like it was just really good. And I don't want to say it was like tropey or anything. It was just really well designed.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, tropey-wise, like, I don't think there's a lot of characters that you could relate closely to Dipper or Mabel. Maybe some more of the other characters, but, like, they did a really good job making each of those characters feel very distinct.
Yeah, like,
visually
with Seuss, he's kind of like, you know, the dopey one, I guess, of, like, a cartoon.
Yeah.
But even then, there's more to him than just that. And I think Seuss is he's probably the most tropey of them, and like, oh, you know, he's gonna do something stupid. But
I don't know.
He can get like pretty real sometimes though, and
yeah, he does. He's
that
really
nice
cool.
added depth.
He's a cool character in that, like, he's the one that like Dipper usually goes to for like advice about something, and he kind of breaks the dopey mold when he does that.
Sometimes he actually gives him good advice, like especially in this first episode here, when he's like, you know, Mabel's boyfriend is a zombie, right? And he was like, how many brains have you seen him eat? And then Dipper's just like, none.
yeah, that's a good point, man. And then he still helps him out, even though Dipper thinks he's still a zombie.
Yeah, I guess we should like say what this episode is about, because we've just started like rambling.
Yeah, we just kind of
the conflict is basically the conflict's really just that Dipper suspects that Mabel's new boyfriend is a zombie after having found the diary full of paranormal secrets. So that's really it.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
So like, I guess to go like a little more in depth with it. When it starts out, like, Mabel is going through, as Dipper puts it, her boy crazy phase, and like it starts off with her like a montage of her like harassing a bunch of like younger boys, being like, "Do you like me?" The thing with the note, it's like, "Do you like me?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Definitely. And then that was a good one. And then after that, I lost it. I lost that train of thought.
We need to like go through the entire thing, but
like Grunkle Stan's like, "Yo, someone needs to put these signs up to point to the Mr. Shack," and everybody's like, "No," and then he makes Dipper do it, and Dipper's like, "Oh, I'm hammering signs on a tree," and he's like, "This tree's hollow," and then he finds the mystery diary journal.
That's when he comes across the journal and is just like, it's filled with all this weird shit, and he's like, I knew something was going on, because he was always like this super paranoid kind of kid, like, even to start. He was like, there's weird things here and everything, and Grunkle Stan's, of course, he's just like, no, there isn't, it's fine.
Yeah, he's like, shut up, it's fine, it's cool. Yeah, and then from that, like, the episode kind of, like, takes its own. It's like, oh, found the book. Wow, Mabel's new boyfriend's pretty weird. What's up with that guy? And then Dipper's like, oh, let me read the book. Oh, he's definitely a zombie. Look at all these zombie-like characteristics. And it's fucking perfect. I love the red herring that it's a zombie. With the blood on the face. Like, I was rewatching that, like, before we started, and I was like, oh my god. Like, how could you not think that's a zombie?
Exactly. Just the way he just, like, roams around and shit, like it's perfect. And I love how when Dipper is first talking, like trying or confronting Mabel about it and being like, your boyfriend's a zombie and all this, and he opens the book and it's like the picture of the gnomes first, and he's like, oh wait, sorry. And I was just like, that is beautiful.
Wait, so then if that wasn't blood, then was that actually jam on his face?
Yeah,
I don't think it was.
That must have actually been jam.
I don't think it was actually explained.
Yeah,
I guess gnomes
it
like
wasn't
jam.
blood.
They might. I mean, these gnomes are kind of evil. I mean, they got the sharp teeth and everything, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure it's jam or something like that. In my mind, it can be blood, because these gnomes are total assholes. The whole reason that they are doing this, where they pretending to be Mabel's boyfriend, is because they don't have a queen anymore. So they decided to dress up like an angsty teenage zombie-looking kid and steal her so that she could be their queen.
I love it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I think the best part about that whole situation is when the angsty kid is gonna confront Mabel about like what he is, and then she's like, "I hope he's a vampire." Like, I lose my shit every single time. It's so funny.
Amazing.
It was so good. She's like, "Oh, it's a vampire," and then just like the way the episode ends off too, where Dipper is just like, "Next time it'll be a vampire," and she's like, you don't mean that," and I was like, "What the hell?" It's just
so goofy.
So good.
I love it.
It's just the dynamic between Mabel and Dipper is so good. Like, you believe that they're actually like siblings. I love it. It's because Alex Hirsch like modeled Dipper after himself and Mabel after his sister. So like some things that happened between them are things that actually happened with Alex Hirsch and his sister. And like,
wait, they found gnomes?
Yes, they found gnomes. They found gnomes, and I don't like you anymore. You're out. You're done. You're done. But I think it adds a lot to the characters in the show that it was based off of actual people.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back.
Now you can give them pizza whenever they want. Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime. Pizza Bagel Bites. Bite-sized pizzas on wholesome little bagels.
Another design I really liked was the gnome golem, because like when you see that he's like composed of like tiny gnomes, and like even his tongue, like I noticed in some of the frames, like his tongue is made of like a bunch of like waving gnomes. I love it.
I noticed
it.
I like when it punched the ground at one point trying to hit them, and like the gnomes like splattered and they just like reformed, and I was just like, that's nasty. Ew. It
reminded me of like Akira or something.
Yeah, it was really cool. Just
like the whole gnome becoming a gnome monster, like
thing where did that
just
come from?
Amazing. Like it's very
it's $1 million idea.
It feels very like 90s in that like, oh, let's form all our robots together to make Ultron. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the vibe I got. And I was like, I'm gonna like this cartoon if it's gonna be like this goofy with like the bad guys, you know?
And they're usually pretty. Sometimes they're like this. I would say some of the bad guys get a little more crazy later on. Though I'd say Gideon, like one of the main bad guys, is pretty. Like he's a dick, but he's still pretty silly.
What's the triangle guy? That guy's pretty bad news.
Yeah, the evil Dorito, Bill Cipher.
Dorito?
Yeah, like everyone on Tumblr calls him a Dorito, as I recall.
Good. I'm glad we're bringing Tumblr into this.
Well, okay, it's a podcast about animation. Tumblr's going to come into it. Just, might as well do it in the first episode.
But yeah, no, Bill is. We'll get to Bill eventually.
Yeah,
Bill is definitely somebody we're going to be covering. Because there's like the one thing about Gravity Falls, and like we've been, sitting here singing its praises and everything, saying how good it is and all this, but like it's not. It's good on its own, but there's so much more to it than just this this first episode shows. Like there is so much hidden stuff in this show. It's insane. And like it just leaves it for the fans to interpret and everything like that. Like even in the intro, where it like flashes for a second at the very end of the intro, and you can see Bill and like all the symbols and all that. The sign, there's like a little code there, and people decipher the code, and it's like Stan is not what he seems. And like instantly I was just like, wait, what does that mean? Because at the end of this episode, once everything is wrapped up and Dipper's like giving his monologue about how, whatever, this is cool, Gravity Falls, yada yada, Stan is like going through closing up shop, and then he goes up to the vending machine, puts in a code, and it opens like this secret door. So immediately this show had me hooked, because I was just like, well, what does this mean? What is that? Are they going to explain it? And like that doesn't get explained until like the middle of season 2.
Literally like a few days ago.
Yeah.
They're just now getting to that.
And like there's just so much to this show than just what's on the surface. And just on the surface, it's incredible. Like it's got a great sense of humor. We were saying that the art's really good, the character design's good. It's been wonderful. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it too. End of the podcast. Boom. It's good.
Done. Wrap this shit up.
Continue.
But yeah, I think what you were talking about earlier when you said, like, there's always something going on, and it's very intriguing. Like, I really enjoy the subplot that ties everything together, and it all goes back to the journal that Dipper finds at the very, this first episode. And they do a really cool job of, using the journal to, explain, what's going on in the episode, but also linking to other things maybe going on later. And, that's pretty cool. Especially for, a cartoon. A kid's cartoon at that.
Yeah. I feel like there's depth on the level of, the backstory to in Adventure Time. It's one of those shows that, actually really goes into things. And, you might not understand something shown in episode 1 until way later, and it does such a good job at pacing that out over the episodes as well. There's at least one thing that is a hint towards something in each episode.
Probably.
There's always at least a little something if you keep your eyes open, and sometimes it'll take a second watch through to notice it, but they do such a good job with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, the continuity is really well done like that. Cartoons are starting to play with that more.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I like that a lot. Gravity Falls isn't the only show that's doing that right now. There's a lot of other shows. And I think it's really cool because, I don't know, it makes it a little more than just a cartoon.
Yeah, definitely.
When I remember watching cartoons, Saturday morning and stuff like that, I was just I was young and I was just oh, look at the colors, this is so cool. And just I don't know, being entertained by just what was happening, and everything was I felt really shallow.
Yeah.
But then I go and I watch something like this and I'm oh my god, what is going on?
I think that's really cool because it feels like they designed Gravity Falls to work for something that you don't necessarily have to be a kid. You could be adult, you could be a 20-something and be super into it because the lore is that deep. You just oh, I want more. I want to know what's going on. And that's cool. That's well designed. And I really like how a lot of modern cartoons like Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, they all have this cool subplot background stuff going on that you don't really know about, but it kind of unfolds a little bit as the series progresses.
Yeah.
And maybe as a kid you wouldn't be too interested about that, but as someone around our age, it's oh, I want to know more about that. I'm intrigued. I'm going to continue watching.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alex Hirsch just does such a good job with it. He's such an interesting person, and I know that it's not one of those things. I feel Adventure Time went on pretty longer than it should have, but he wants this to be done in 3 seasons. He set out with he set out with a story to tell, and he's telling it. So I mean, we're halfway through season 2 already, and some pretty big shit has happened. So we're gonna see resolve eventually. Cool. It's not something that's gonna eventually jump the shark and just end up being really bad.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and it definitely shows. I really
hope that Disney...
And, he's not the only one who's working on it, too. Yeah. I mean, it was just originally his idea.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Well, I mean, I hope that, Disney will let them do that instead of just keeping it going forever.
I feel like they will.
Yeah,
as much as I like Gravity
his
Falls,
standings
I don't think it would be good for 10 seasons of it.
Oh, no. I mean, 10 seasons of anything is rough. Even a show that I love, X-Files, went on for, 9 seasons? And, there are some in there that are pretty, you can just not watch this episode. But, with Gravity Falls, it's, completely different. And I don't think they're going to have an issue with getting that 3rd season, because he pushes boundaries a lot with this show. Like we said before, this is on Disney XD. So some of the stuff that happens is should this be on Disney sort of thing? It feels more like a Cartoon Network sort of cartoon sometimes.
Yeah, it does get kind of surprisingly dark sometimes. They can actually say the word die. I go back and watch cartoons from even 10 years ago, and it's he's going to you'll be destroyed instead of you'll be killed or something.
Yeah, there's even been with some of the villains, like Gideon, like he just like straight up wants them dead. Like
yeah,
he's just a really evil person, and there's a lot of little things like that Alex like really pushes with Disney, like just following him on social media, like Tumblr, Twitter, and stuff like that. Like sometimes he'll talk about like the process, and like there's been lines where he's posted like that need to be changed because they're just too graphic sounding and stuff like that. There's sections that have needed to have been reworked and like imagery and stuff. It's really interesting following him on these because you kind of see like a little.
That sounds really cool. I mean, I definitely want to do that now because I'm eager to see like what gets left on the cutting board for Gravity Falls.
Yeah. Plus, he's just like a super funny dude. His vines, he does vines in the voice of Grunkle Stan because he voices Grunkle Stan, and they're hilarious. They're so good.
Stan vines. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's amazing. He does the voice just like so perfectly, and I know he posted recently. He got like the figures for them because there's like figures for him now. I would love to actually find those figures because I think that'd be cool. But he'll take like vines where he's like moving Grunkle Stan around in front of his phone and like talking in his voice, and I'm just like, this is a grown man. Like, this is the best thing ever. Dream. Literally, writing like a badass cartoon and just talking in a really raspy voice and just being like stupid. It's great. There was something at the end of this episode that I really liked. Earlier, like, you kind of got the dynamic of Mabel and Dipper and how, you know, they're brother and sister, they love each other and stuff like that. They had, like, the awkward sibling hug, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
And, like, you kind of got a little bit of them. But so far, Grunkle Stan had seemed like just kind of, I don't know, like he didn't care about them that much. And they kind of rectify that at the end of the episode where, like, they're walking away after, like, you know, going through the fight and Grunkle Stan's counting his money. And then, like, he looks over at them and it's just, like, a second. You can see he's just, like, contemplating, like, like, I do, like, appreciate that they're here and everything. I kind of want to show that. But he's not really that good with it, with showing, like, any sort of emotion other than, like, I want money and stuff like that. And this kind of...
Yeah, I love his character.
Yeah, his character is probably my favorite in the show, to be honest. Like, there's so much to him. And, like, there's just that second where it cuts to, you know, him looking at them. And he's like, you know what, I overstocked. You guys can take something, anything you want. And Dipper's like, oh, no, what's the catch? And he was like, do it before I change my mind. And it was just that moment you're like, okay, there's more to him than just being that, like, uncle who likes money, who's just trying to scam everybody. Like, there's a little more character depth here. And it just kind of built this bond, like, that you're going to start to see grow between Grunkle Stan and the Pine twins throughout the series. And it's going to get a lot stronger, and it's going to go through a lot of different things as it goes, especially with, like, where the show is at now. That is, like, a critical thing in the show. And it's cool to kind of see that start, like, right here in this episode, because it turns into something so crazy later on, and now it's just, like, it's so humble looking. It's like, oh, he's really trying. And I thought that was a really cool moment that I picked up on. That's something that stuck out to me probably the most out of this episode.
Because, like, that's definitely something I didn't, like, was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I was just like, yeah, whatever.
You get to watch them, like, kind of form into, like, a pseudo-family, you know, like, get all that family love. It's really nice.
Yeah, and it's nice to see it from what looks to be such, like, this callous old man, too.
Yeah.
You see him, like, really start... And you'll see it even, like I said before, you'll see it even more, like, it becomes a huge priority for him to, like, keep them safe and everything like that. Even though he might not show it the best sometimes, but he's only just a dude. Like, he's gonna mess things up sometimes and everything. And it's really cool to see just the whole thing grow. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the show, to be honest. It's just their relationship is always super interesting. And there's going to be, like, episodes later on that focus on just Mabel and Dipper, too. Because they get a lot closer as it goes along, too.
Yeah.
But it's cool. There's a lot of, like, connecting and, like, bonding just throughout this whole show. And I don't know, it's just cool. I have a brother myself, so I kind of know what it's like. And I don't know, I just thought it was neat. There's a few things that I can't talk about right now because they'd be like super spoilers. But yeah, that I saw that people pointed out that tied to the last episode, and I was just like, oh my god. And
I actually saw some of that on the internet today, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff. But we can't. I don't want to bring it up right now because this is only the first episode. We can. We can. I'm sure we're gonna be coming back to Gravity Falls every now and then to cover some big episodes.
Yeah. I think it's one of those cartoons that's like really interesting and cool to talk about, and I hope our audience thinks it's pretty interesting to hear us kind of ramble about it. And, like, I don't know, like, for me, personally, I picked it up sometime last year because I just remember my Twitter always being like, Gravity Falls, whoa, did you see that thing on that? And I was like, Mabel is so great. And I was just like, I gotta check this out. Yeah. And I was hooked from, like, the first episode on. And yeah, haven't looked back. It's great. It's a really, like, great show to watch. It's very fun. Everything about it feels, like, pretty high quality, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
Like script all the way to like the animation and stuff is pretty good. I guess there's 3D models every once in a while, and that can be a little jarring, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna like really take.
Yeah, it's not gonna ruin the experience for you. You know, it's like that one 3D model isn't gonna be like, no, this show is shit now. I can't watch it. Like.
Dude, but you know there's people that like
it. Totally, yeah.
I'd like to pretend that there aren't. And just live a happier life.
That's a good strategy, honestly.
It is. But yeah, so I'm sure we're going to come back. I do want to cover, like, I think covering bigger episodes of this would be kind of cool. Just to follow the storyline and just to kind of talk about it with our listeners as it develops. Because it's really cool. And I'm sure, you know, everybody already knows. But maybe we'll talk about something that you didn't notice. And I think it'll be a neat little thing to come back to every now and then. Especially because it's ongoing and will be for another season and a half. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This was, you know, our first episode. It was kind of rough. It was definitely a little rough at times. But I think it went...
I don't know, Steve. I thought it was pretty good.
I think it went well, though.
Yes, Steve. God.
Jeez, everybody's turning on already. So just, you know, thank you so much for checking it out. It means, you know, it means a whole lot to us. And this is...
it really does.
More than you know. More than you know. It's the reason I sleep at night.
Okay!
Just get real creepy with it. That made me lose my train of thought.
But yeah, let us know what you thought of Too Many Toons podcast. If there's anything y'all would like us to cover, and that kind of leads to Steve. Steve's got something special to share about that.
So,
right,
yes,
Steve?
I do. Every week after we finish an episode, we're going to be telling you what we're going to be watching next week for the podcast. The reason why we're going to do this is we've opened a subreddit. The subreddit is r/TMT podcast. It's open right now, so you can go to it. We encourage you to go there, watch the episode of whatever we're watching, and just bring up some discussion. Talk with other people who are listening to the podcast. Make a community out of this and just socialize with each other. And if you bring up some good points and everything, we can, you know, read them out on the show and stuff like that. Of course, we'll give you a big fat shout out.
Yeah,
we can do like shout outs with it and everything. We want to get you guys involved with this as much as possible. And I think doing a subreddit is probably the best way to do this because it's just this free form where we can all go and just talk about these shows and everything like that. It's a good place to make suggestions for shows for us to cover, and just to, you know, talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah. And we are going to be posting this on YouTube, so you can suggest things in the YouTube comments as well.
Yes, we're gonna be on
if you don't Reddit,
YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podomatic. All of these places you're gonna be able to get the podcast. We want to make it as accessible as possible, and of course, the new episodes will be posted on the subreddit and our Twitter account too. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can find us on YouTube elsewhere. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Where can you find us?
The three of us have our own YouTube channels where we don't really talk about cartoons, but mostly video games and other things like that. I'm Perrydactyl Show at YouTube.com. Google it.
And I'm Alex and Crackers.
Oh, we should probably talk about what kind of content. Well, I make hype shit. Alex makes really cool, cute stuff, and then Steve talks about weird things.
All of our information, if you want to get to where we do things other than this, is on the subreddit. So it's just another reason to go hang out there, because then you can get to our Twitters, Facebooks, YouTubes, and all that shit.
Okay, so next week on Too Many Toons podcast, we're going to be watching Season 1, Episode 10 of Teen Titans, Mad Mod. So you can go ahead and watch that ahead of time if you want to watch along with us and think of some thoughts and put them in the comments in the subreddit and have a good time.
Yeah, get hyped, guys! It's gonna be a good time!
Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!
Bye!